بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متدلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وانزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته وكم من عثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرت بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي، وكعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أملي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها، ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي. يا سيدي، فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك الدعاء سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة الشهوات وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك، أسأله كشف الضر والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أهواه وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك، وخالفت بعد أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاءك، والزمن حكمك وبلاغك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مكرا مدعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفر مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري ودخالك إياي في سعة رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعتراف ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات، أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته، أو تبعد من أدنيته، أو تشرد من آويته، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا، وبشكرك مادحا، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعا، وأشارت باستغفارك مدعنا ما هكذا ظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم. يا ربي، وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكثور، يسير بقاؤه، قصير مدته، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي، فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الدليل الحقير المسكين المستكين؟ يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع عدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي، صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني يا إلهي، صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجاء عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لن تركتني ناطقا، لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وهبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيجا مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي، فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رباه؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتكه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات، ما ذلك ظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أخطأ لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحدك وقضيت به من إخلاد معاندك، فجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كانت لأحد فيها مكرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأن تجل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما، أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته، كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيتا وبفضلك سترتا، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلتا أو إحسان فضلتا أو بر نشرتا أو رزق بسطتا أو ذنب تغفروه أو خطأ تستروه. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بذري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي، يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا قو على خدمتك جوارحي، واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أصرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، ودنو منك دنو المخلصين، وخافك مخافة الموقنين، واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرد، ومن كادني فكد، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، واقربهم منزلة منك، وخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجدني بجودك، وعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وقلني أثرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك الرجاء، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي، يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء، يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء، يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقام، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وفعل بما أنت أهله، وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين وضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم 2 فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون واتخذوا من دونه آلهة إن يردن الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء الله وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر والليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وليعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند مهضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Respected scholar, my elders, brothers, sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for all the names listed on the screen and Kul Marhamin Al-Fatiha. Ayama Yajibun is requested for all the names listed on the screen and whoever is in need of it here and elsewhere. Let us all recite it together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا وطبيب ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين المكرمين الخيرين الفاضلين السيدين الصادقين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين للتراب مقدمه الفدا ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد صلوات على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I wanted to start off tonight by going through the two questions that we had left over. And then if we can finish up going through those, then we can move on to our discussion for tonight, inshallah. So if you can show the questions from Slido first. Okay, so while that's loading up, let me just read it off. So the first one was, we use science on a day-to-day basis. So how do we make sure we are using it in the correct manner? Okay. So how do we use science in the correct manner? Well, first we have to break it down into two different ideas here, right? There's one where we talk about using science, and then the other part is our mindset or our intention going in, right? So the questionnaire is talking about using it in the correct manner. So again, maybe you mean mindset, maybe you mean usage, actual usage, I'm not sure. I'll try to go through both, but if you need any more clarification, you can either say it now or we can answer it later on or maybe next week, inshallah. So as far as usage and application, well, I mean, if that's part of your work, then you just do your work, right? If you are a doctor, then, you look at the studies and the evidence and you do what you have to do, right? You use science. It's the main tool that you use there, right? So I'm not really concerned about the usage and the application necessarily, right? That's not really the important part. It's more about what is our mindset, what's our awareness level, what's our intention and our framework looking at science. So what I hope is clear up to this point, after having gone through about now maybe half a dozen lectures on this topic. See, it doesn't make sense to say anybody or anything is anti-science, right? Science is just a tool like anything else. But if you think that science is going to solve all the problems, well, then that's where there's an issue, right? So the first thing was recognizing that science is limited. And I know that maybe some of you don't understand what that means, or maybe some of you do get it. Remember, we talked about this last time, right? As far as the scope of science is concerned, science only cares about the physical things that we can see in front of us. That's pretty much it. Yeah, okay, if you can't see it with the naked eye, fine, use a microscope, whatever. That's pretty much all science can really detect. That's why it doesn't care about other things. The scientific method only allows for a certain level of knowledge. You can never get certainty with science. It's not designed to do that. Right? It's just a normal tool. So the conclusions you get, you can never say that, yeah, 100% we got it through science. That's not a way you can phrase something. And I know many people, many scientists, many individuals who use science, they say things like that, right? You'll hear these terms used in articles like scientific proof, scientific fact, scientific evidence. Something is scientifically backed. Well, we have to know what that really means. If I have an experience, if I say, for example, when I go to, let's say, when I went for ziyarah in Iraq, I had so-and-so experience there. Okay, well, that's my experience. That doesn't tell us about everybody's experience in Iraq. That doesn't tell us about, every Iraqi. Likewise, if we go and poll every single person and ask them about their experience on going for, let's say, the ziyarah on Arba'een or at any other time for Muharram, may Allah grant us all the ability to go, inshallah, once things open up, to visit all the imams. Well, that's just people's experience, right? We can't make conclusions that, well, since, let's say on one side, you see that everybody that I've talked to, they all say that they've been treated so nicely. They've, experienced such hospitality in Iraq. So now we don't automatically make the conclusion that, yes, all Iraqis are like this and every ziyarah experience will be like this. No, that would be ridiculous. Nobody would ever do that. Now, you could say, well, my experience and a lot of people's experience, okay, that's fine, maybe. But you can't make these huge, huge generalizations. And science, that's all it does, is it tries to make these generalizations. And sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's a problem. It depends what they're trying to generalize. They can never, ever say 100% of the time, this is what it's going to be. Why? Because science is always going to be based on the limitations of the variables they're looking at. Again, I don't want to fully go into the philosophy of science, right? That's something that, we've opened up a little bit in our sessions on Saturday. But, we talked a little bit about it last time. Science can only look at one part of the universe. And even that, there's so many physical variables to look at. That's why science keeps changing. Before, it used to be every few hundred years. But now it's clearly almost every single day. Why? Because there's too many different variables. There's all these elements. It's not going to ever be able to say 100% with certainty, definitively, we've made a conclusion, and that's our goal. No, it can't do that. So we have to keep that in mind first. So if that's the case, then we should now not make science our religion. Don't try to force feed all of these ideas into Islam. Don't try to force scientific ideas into the Quran and say, oh, look at what the Quran says. That's what science said. So now Islam is the truth. Don't look at these odd narrations or these odd scientific ideas and try to, merge these two together and make that the basis of your aqidah and your belief system. Now, you can say, okay, it's possible. Maybe the Quran means this. Maybe in the narrations they meant that. But just make sure that the maybe part is there if you really have to go and insert all these scientific ideas there. And we've seen many times people fail, they fall flat on their face because they end up relying too much on some sort of scientific idea, which then the next day becomes outdated and they have to backtrack. We don't want to do that. More importantly, we have to recognize that there are agendas. Science is not some unbiased, objective idea. It's not, it's not that, the way some scientists make it out to be that, oh, we just look at the facts and that's it. No, there are clear ideological agendas. There's philosophical agendas, right? Especially for atheists right now. They clearly do not want anybody to talk about God and religion. So they're going to push their own ideas, right? That are anti-religion, anti-God. And of course, there's political agendas, whether it comes to pro-vax or anti-vaccine, masks or no masks, flat earth, round earth, whatever it is. There are political motives behind everything. There's money here, right? Cui bono, as they say in Latin, who profits? Just like extremists can abuse the Quran, abuse the words of the Holy Prophet and the Imams, we see people do that. You can abuse science and scientific evidence or scientific data in the same way. So don't be so naive about your scientific usage. So if you really are going to actually use science, whatever that means, as a tool, then just make sure you're doing so honestly. You're doing so with an open mind, that you're researching, and you're not limiting yourself to just one point of view, what the mainstream is saying. Be ready, if you really want to be a scientist, then look at the other side, be ready to read the opposite opinions, even if it's not politically correct, for example, right? Because the evidence might go in the other way, but maybe there are certain parties at play which are keeping that away. Again, I've given the example before about Darwinian evolution. Now, I'm not going to tell you about whether you should be pro or anti. That's not my job. It's not my concern right now. But know that there are many in the scientific community who do not believe that Darwinian evolution has any shred of evidence scientifically speaking. And they've written books about this. There are articles, there are videos. You can go and watch these things. There's even, I think, a TED talk about this idea, how Darwinian evolution has become itself a blind faith type of religion. And now if you go and try to say otherwise, you get shunned in the scientific community. Again, I'm not here to pick sides. You can go, if you know how to do the research, do it. If you don't know, then again, be humble as you go on and hear different opinions there. In the same way, we do the same thing for religion. If you don't know how to get involved in religious discussions and research, if you don't know how to get involved in scientific research, then you have to at least keep an open mind, or at least be humble about the different opinions that exist out there. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now, on that note, the second question here. Why do we do tawaf anti-clockwise instead of clockwise? So this is a very interesting question. Now, I know that, I think when we first met, this was back in March, or no, April, sorry, when we had our first session, one of the questions that was asked was whether the Slido questions should be relevant to the topic or not. And if I remember correctly, I had said, try to keep it relevant to the topic if possible. Now you can ask questions that are, just general Q&A like this, and maybe we'll collect it later and go through it at some other point. So we haven't done so yet. And it just so happened that this question kind of slipped through the cracks, which is just fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So this is an open invitation to anybody who has any sort of random questions. Feel free to ask, and when we get a chance to, we'll set up separate sessions and try to address them in due time, inshallah. But I think this one makes sense. It is timely because of Hajj. It's timely because of the discussion of science. So we'll go through and spend some time. It's going to take some time, right? I think most of you have gotten used to my method at this point. You know that I'm not going to just answer this in 1 to 5 minutes, right? So it might go all the way up to the end of our time. And if it does, then we'll have to leave our main topic for next week. And I do want to leave some, at least 5 minutes for the quiz, inshallah. Okay. So the first thing that I noticed here was the questioner is most definitely not American, or at least not North American. Why? Because you said anti-clockwise. That's not how we say it in North America, right? We say counterclockwise. So no, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So it could be, let's say, an elder, right? Maybe an uncle or an auntie who is raised in Commonwealth, right? The Queen's English, for example. So that's interesting. But, we are in America now, so it's time to speak American. So yeah, it should be counterclockwise. But anti-clockwise is, again, for those who use non-North American English. Okay. So now, again, another point that I want to kind of highlight. This idea of the why style questions. Why do we do this? Why are dogs najis? Why is Maghrib 3 rakats? Why are only these sort of prayers made qasr and not? Why this? Why that? Why? A lot of us have these why type of questions. Nothing wrong with that. They're good, right? They're really good for us to try to get a better understanding of what's going on in our religion. So we shouldn't shun these questions. We shouldn't, push people away, especially kids who are asking these kind of questions. Now, if we don't know, we don't know. And, I said it last time. I didn't know, so I had to do research. I had some general vague idea, but I wanted to do a little bit more, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the problem. With these why type of questions, I don't know how to answer you, whoever asked the question. Because there's a plethora, a number of different ways that we can answer this. Let me give you an example. So you're asking, why do we do tawaf counterclockwise instead of clockwise? Well, very simply, because God said so. And we're supposed to obey God no matter what he says. So it's a test of our obedience. That's it. That's an answer, isn't it? Now, I know clearly that's not the answer you want, but that is an answer to the why question, right? Any question you can ask about why do we do this? Why did God this? Well, because he said so. He knows better than us. Obey, right? Sami'na wa ata'na. We hear, we obey. But clearly that's not what people want. That's not what they mean when they ask the why questions. No problem. Okay, so let's go forward. What's maybe another level we can go a bit deeper? So maybe another method is, okay, let's go jump into the narrations. what have the Ma'sumin alayhimus salam, what have they said? Well, in one narration, it says, we are doing this, we perform the tawaf like this, for the same reason that we throw a certain number of stones, for the same reason that we stop at this place or do this, or any action in Islam. Why? Because we are copying and repeating the actions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. That's it. The Prophet did it. We're told to copy the Prophet. The narrations come and they tell us how exactly the Prophet performed it. So we do what he did. Right? We have narrations. The Prophet said, pray as you see me pray. Perform Hajj as you see me perform Hajj, etc. So, is that enough? No. That is an answer to the why question. Why do we do it like this? Because the Prophet did it like this. But I know that's not what you wanted to hear as well, right? Okay, so let's go deeper. In other narrations, it says as far as the acts of Hajj specifically, they are what? They are a reenactment. We are reenacting the actions of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, his son, right? And at least part of the actions would be Bibi Hajara alayhi salam. So we're just reenacting some actions that took place, right, back then with the Prophet and his family. Now, okay, maybe you already knew that. You say, okay, fine. I know we're copying Hajj from what, the Hajj actions are what they did, but still, that I want more. Okay, fine. Let's go deeper. Fine. So it's not just about copying Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. They say that Nabi Adam alayhi salam was actually performing this as well with Bibi Hawa alayhi salam. They also performed the tawaf to some degree, or in some sense they performed it, and we're copying their actions. Is that good enough for you? I don't know. I can't see you, and I have no way to respond to you, so I don't know. But my guess is no. That's still not what you want to hear. All of these so far have been answers to the why, but I'm pretty sure that's not what you want to hear. So let's go even deeper, or as we can say, let's go higher. It's not even human beings that we're copying. We are reenacting and copying the acts of the angels. Literally speaking, or precisely, the angels on the fourth level of heaven, right? We have 7 different levels. On the fourth level, they perform this tawaf, right? The circumambulation, right? I love that. I don't know why. I think Shias are the only ones, or at least Muslims are the only ones who know these kind of random words like circumambulation and vicegerency and genuflection and prostration and all this stuff. Anyway, so tawaf, right? Doing these circuits, right? Going round and round. They aren't on the fourth level of heaven. They are, or were, whatever way you understand time, they were doing tawaf and performing tawaf around something called Baytul Ma'mur. Right? So this Baytul Ma'mur. Now, I don't have time to go into what that really is, but they say it's on the fourth level of heaven, the fourth level of reality. And they were performing this action. There's a whole story about why they were doing it. Again, I don't want to go through the whole thing, but after Allah had said that he was going to put a Khalifa on the earth, and they said, God, what are you doing? Why would you put a human there? You know what they do? They screw things up. They cause fasad. They're going to kill people, blah, blah, blah. And Allah said, I know what you don't know. So there is this, again, there's in the narrations, it explains it differently, but basically there is this sense of embarrassment. Or some say, or according to some narrations, they say that Allah was angry with the angels. Some narrations say the angels thought that Allah was angry with them, and other narrations say that because the angels, they kind of screwed up by not understanding or whatever, they were distanced from God's light. Now, how are they distanced? They kind of, the distance of that light between them and Allah was 7,000 years worth of light. Call it 7 light years if you want, or 7,000 light years. So those 7 tawafs each tawaf represents 1,000 light years, and that's how long it took them to perform that tawaf, so they can get back to God's pure light. So that's another reason why we do one of the reasons why we do 7, right? Specifically, 7 represents 7,000 light years, which it took for the angels as they were performing tawbah, repentance, trying to go back to God's light. Okay. So that maybe that answers your question. You're like, okay, now I get it. But some of you maybe are saying, no, that doesn't answer it. And maybe the one who asked it, no, that doesn't answer it. Okay, let's go deeper then. Fine. Maybe this is the answer you want to hear. Performing the tawaf in a counterclockwise fashion, right? Now, I don't know how it's going to look to you as, I think this is the way I should do it, right? So it looks like it's counterclockwise to you. It reflects the beauty, the harmony, the order, the design, and the unity of the whole universe, God's creation, the cosmos. We see that everything in reality, it moves. I'm trying to make sure I do this right. Is this counter? There we go. Counterclockwise. That's how everything goes. So, for example, how does blood flow in the body? How does circulation work? It works counterclockwise. How do the electrons of an atom flow around a nucleus? Counterclockwise. How does the moon orbit around the Earth? Counterclockwise. The Earth spins on its own axis? Counterclockwise. All Earth and all the other planets around the sun? Counterclockwise. The galaxies orbiting space, how do they do that? Counterclockwise. Every single thing in existence, if it has this sort of rotation or spin, it's going in a counterclockwise direction, reflecting God's organization, his harmony, the beauty of everything that he creates. And it reflects that, hikmat and wisdom that he has in his mind. Right? Subhanallah. That's the answer you probably wanted to hear, right? This deeper scientific answer. But remember what we just said about all the science kind of stuff. Do we really want to force this kind of scientific idea or these scientific ideas onto Islam like this? Now, if you go and Google right now, why do we do tawaf anti-clockwise or counterclockwise? These are the answers that are going to come up, unfortunately, right? Blood flow, electrons, orbits, all these things. There's a lot of problems here, but I'm just going to mention a few. One is, are any of these things actually true? For anybody here, any of the medical experts, the physicians who are here, or anybody who studied basic biology or physiology, then you know that the whole idea of blood flow circulation going counterclockwise makes no sense, right? It doesn't really flow like that. Those who are into physics, especially those who are into quantum mechanics and quantum physics, know that this whole idea of electrons, going around, sorry, I have to keep doing this way. Electrons going around an atom, electrons in an atom going around its nucleus doesn't make sense as well, right? Now, normally the pictures we see in physics books, they show us these kind of different circles around, the electrons going around the atom, the nucleus, right? But that was an old model. With quantum theory, quantum mechanics, that's not how it is, right? Again, I don't want to go into it, but it's not supposed to be like these nice round little circles. It's this whole wave function or this cloud or whatever the heck you want to think about it, right? But that's not how that model, that drawing that we all see in our books, that's not a correct model. So that doesn't work. Now, what about the orbit? You might say, Hasan, but okay, the Earth is spinning and the moon, its rotation counterclockwise. So, okay, if that's the case, well, as I was just doing it, right? Right now, when I go like this, to you, I think this looks like it's counterclockwise, right? Yeah, that's counterclockwise. The problem is when I look at it, I'm looking at it, what direction is it for me? This is clockwise for me. Now, if I go like this, okay, for me, this is counterclockwise. But for you, on the screen, it's what? It's clockwise. So when somebody says, look, the Earth, look at it, it's spinning in whatever, they're saying it's counterclockwise. Okay, well, look at it from the other angle. We keep the same thing going, then it's going to look like it's going clockwise. So which point of reference are you going to use for orbits and, whether it's the sun itself, whether it's the planets themselves, whether it's going around? You have to pick a point to look at. Why are we assuming our point, whether it's from the northern hemisphere, from the northern perspective, looking down, whatever way it is, why are we picking that? A scientist will easily respond, or not even a scientist, anybody can say, why are we just picking one frame of reference? From another frame of reference, it's not going counterclockwise, it's going clockwise. So you Muslims, again, you're just forcing some random idea into this thing. This is why I said, be very, very careful with forcing ideas of science, trying to make sense of things. Now, what I was just saying before, I'm sure it sounded really nice to all of you. You can see the clear issues here. Scientifically, there's problems. And even if we accept that that's the case, well, in frame of reference, we're going to have an issue there as well. Now, Some of you might be thinking, okay, fine, throw the science stuff out. Forget that. We want the deep meanings. Now, what do you mean by deeper meanings? The philosophical ideas, the mystical, irfani stuff. That's what we want. That's what you're after, right? Okay, fine. Now, here's a problem. I only have like a couple minutes. No, I'll quickly do it. I don't know how long it's going to... I'll see. I'll try to summarize quickly. And then I think we're just going to go to the quiz after this. So, in philosophy, in irfan, we have this idea of symbolism. Everything that's physical symbolizes something on a higher plane in the metaphysical realms. The left, so this is my left, all right? This is my left. You're right, probably, right? The left things symbolize our belief, our actions. It symbolizes the kind of batil, right? The things that are false. It symbolizes shaitan. That's why, for example, we go into the bathroom with a left foot. We don't eat with our left hand. We wipe with our left hand. All these things which represent kind of the khabith, the things that are khaba'ith, which are disgusting, abhorrent, which are not good, we represent it with the left. So, the left side of the body as well represents those beliefs and actions, or the ashabu shimal, ashabu yasar, the people of the left side. And we are trying to say we are facing our left side towards the Kaaba. Why? Because we are trying to make sure that that falsehood, our false beliefs, the shaitani beliefs that we have, connects back to God. We want to block that off and we want to connect it back to God. In another narration, they say that the left thing symbolizes being opposed to and being an enemy of the Ahlul Bayt. So for example, in Surah Al-Balad, Surah Balad, verse 19, there it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Hum ashabul mash'ama, right? They are the people of the left side or people of the left hand. And then in one of the narrations, it explains that al-mash'ama a'da'u ahli Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. That the mash'ama, the people of the left side, are the enemies of the family of Muhammad. So they say that this is another symbolization as well. When you're ashabu shimal, you're a person of the mash'ama, the left hand, that means you're an enemy of the Ahlul Bayt. So we take our own animosity that we may have unknowingly of the Ahlul Bayt, and we try to focus that back onto God. That's why we point that back to the Kaaba, for example, right? So that's one way that some of the philosophers and urafa, they attach this idea of symbolism. There's another way as well. And this actually would help us connect to the scientific idea. See, the scientific problem was what? The idea about orientation. If I say that everything is going counterclockwise, that's why we do tawaf counterclockwise. Again, somebody can respond and say, why are you picking one specific hemisphere or one point of reference in space to say that things are going counterclockwise? We say, look, you guys, you scientists or atheists, you don't have a reference point, but from a higher perspective, from a metaphysical perspective, from a philosophical, irfani perspective, we do and can pick a frame of reference. When we pick a frame of reference, we look from the top, looking down below. From the higher realms, like the angelic realms, the malakuti, the jabaruti, or the divine realm, and we look down. When you look from the top and you look down, then your frame of reference is there. So I'll give you an analogy. I won't specifically explain everything because I can't because of time and because some of these things I want you to reflect on yourselves. Think about a screw, a nut, or a bolt. Now, for those of you who sometimes forget, right? If you have to, tighten or loosen one and you forget, which way do I go, right? We have the famous phrase, right? Righty tighty, lefty loosey, right? So you turn it clockwise to tighten and you go counterclockwise with your right hand, obviously, to loosen it. What's interesting here is what? So when you tighten something, when you tighten a screw and you're going clockwise, what's happening? The screw, that nut, that bolt is going down. It's fastening, it's holding down to something. When you loosen something, though, when you're going counterclockwise, it's moving up slowly, right? And as you start to loosen all these things become unhinged. They become looser and looser. So some say that when we are doing this, when we're performing this, it's as if we are trying to disconnect ourselves, unscrew ourselves, our nafs, from the lower world, from the dunya, and move ourselves to a higher dimension. Go back from the dunya back to the higher realms. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Wa ilayhi turja'un. Returning back to God. I'll let you reflect on that and think about that, inshallah. And if there's any other questions or comments, we'll take them next week. And then we'll go on with the main discussion and continue about what are the repercussions now that people of the modern age and era recognize that science and logic and all this stuff has its limitations. There are two trends there, and we'll go through the two trends next week, inshallah. So now we'll go on to the quiz. If you can recite as-salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Okay, so assalamu alaikum again to everybody. Let's see, so we don't want to take up too much time because, we already hit our mark here. So we've got, let's see, we've got 14 people, right? So assalamu alaikum to everybody. I am not Imam Ali. I am not Imam Hussein. Wonderful. I'm glad that you're so humble. SF, UGs, or DivGs, as I hear some people pronouncing it. Hasan, double S Hasan. I can't say I'm proud of that because Hasan should only be one S, right? There's no shadda, so why are there two S's? I don't know. It's okay though. It's okay. I forgive you. Ali Abid, Qasim, Parmenides again. Salam alaikum. Zara, Bahlul, Mujahid Jan Muhammad, Jaganis, Band Khuda. Two Jaganis. Interesting. Hasnain, Mikhail. Could be an N, right? Is that an N? Yeah, it looks like an N to me. Okay, the Somjis. Who else we have today? Hermione Granger. Again with the kufr, right? With these black magic stuff. I'm not into the Harry Potter stuff, so the Greek names are nice. That's fine. But Qambar, assalamu alaikum. Who else we got? 25 people. I think that's good. Let's get started. Yeah. Oh, Ali and Z. On Yusuf al-Imam. Okay. Here, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Who did Mu'tasim, the Abbasid Khalifa, who did he hire for Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam's as a teacher? Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam as a teacher. The apostrophe F shouldn't be there. When he was young. Was it Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, Muhammad ibn Ja'far, Umar ibn al-Faraj, or al-Junaidi? This question looks kind of familiar. Can't put my finger on it, but it looks kind of familiar. Let's see. I feel like I've seen this question before. I mean, would make sense for the Imam to be taught by his father, right? And this name, Muhammad ibn Ja'far, that sounds like a companion's name. That could be it too. Umar ibn Faraj, yeah, it could be that person. Al-Junaidi, I don't know. Could be any of these. Al-Junaidi sounds like a famous scholar too. 95% of you have remembered that we went through this the other night. Interesting. 5% of you said Imam al-Jawad. Tisk, 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 tisk. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to the second question. Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam went on a trip to Iraq once and asked both of his sons what they wanted. I'm getting deja vu. Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam wanted a blank, and Musa, his other son, wanted a blank. Was it a Quran for Imam al-Hadi and a ring, a Dur al-Najaf for Musa? Was it Imam al-Hadi wanted a sword like a flame and Musa wanted mats? Did they both want a piece of Imam Hussein's turba? Or did they both want dates? I don't know. Could be any of these things, right? They all sound fairly plausible, I guess, right? I mean, Imam asking for a Quran, that makes sense. Asking for a ring makes sense too. Sword like a flame, sounds a little made up and strange. Could be a trick question. Mats, that doesn't make any sense, but I mean, I always throw in curveballs. Piece of Imam Hussein's turba, that seems like the most obvious, but the most obvious ones could be incorrect, right? Both wanting dates. Well, that seems like they're too dunyawi. Why would they want that? I don't know. But I don't know. I'm getting deja vu. I feel like this question was asked before. I don't know what's going on. Really interesting, huh? Looks like some of you got it. 89% of you. Imam al-Hadi asked for a sword like a flame, and Musa asked for some mats. Very, very good. 11% of you. Now, that would be a logical answer, but that wasn't. And Imam al-Jawad was so happy with Imam al-Hadi because he said, wow, it's amazing. You have that same fiery, brave spirit in you like your grandfather, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salatu wassalam. Okay. Very good for 89% of you. 11% of you, I don't know what's going on here, but all right, let's go to 3. Okay, so his father, Imam al-Hadi, alayhi salam, Imam al-Jawad named him Ali. Why? Because he resembled the first and fourth Imams, alayhi salam. He was eloquent like Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and would worship like Imam Sajjad, alayhi salam. He was a great fighter like Imam Ali, alayhi salam, or all of the above. Man, it seems like there's a glitch in the matrix. I feel like something's different here. I don't know. I'll let you answer it. Well, I have to answer important text. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, I mean, based on what I just said before, it should be obvious, I think, right? But then again, we haven't had an all of the above yet. 75% of you are on top of your game. Ahsant. We had said that it was because of his eloquence. He had the balagha of Imam Ali, and his asceticism, his zuhd, and his ibadah was like Imam Sajjad. That's why his father decided to name him Ali ibn Muhammad al-Hadi alayhi salam. Ahsant, very good. The rest of you, oh man, I am so disappointed. I don't know what to do with you. Okay, last and final one. Maybe it'll be different. Nope, it's not. It's the exact same questions as the other night. The 10th Imam's... Oh, I'm sorry, I rewrote these and I didn't do it correctly. The 10th Imam's was nicknamed what? Abul Hasan, Al-Murtada, Al-Mutawakkil, or all of the above? Okay, now, I haven't done an all of the above in a long time, so that seems like it's a logical one. But then again, there's all 3 of these seem like they belong to some other people. So this doesn't make sense as well. So which way does the trick go? Let's see. I mean, Abul Hasan isn't that the title of the 8th Imam, right? Don't we say, Assalamu alayka ya Abul Hasan, Ali ibn Musa al-Rida, alayhi salam? Like, that's his. Why would it be the 10th Imams? Al-Murtada, that's the first Imams. Why would it be the 10th? I mean, these guys can't think of new nicknames. Al-Mutawakkil, that's the one of the Abbasid Khulafa. How could it be the nickname of the Imam? So, all the above doesn't make sense here either. Or does it? I don't know. Really confusing. Okay, a few more of you left. And let's see. I'm hoping somebody's got 4 out of 4 today. I'm thinking maybe 2 or 3 of you do. I think so. I've got high hopes in this community. Okay, so part of my hopes just got shattered. So, the answer is all of the above. All of these nicknames were for the 10th Imam. Abul Hasan, right? Remember, there's 3. 7th Imam, Abul Hasan. 8th Imam, Abul Hasan, right? Abul Hasan the first, Abul Hasan the second, and Abul Hasan the third was the 10th Imam. Al-Murtada, he also got that. Al-Mutawakkil, he was nicknamed this, but he didn't like the nickname. So he told his companions, don't give me this nickname, don't call me that. But it's actually listed in the books that it was one of his nicknames. So the answer was all of the above. Let's see, I'm sure we got maybe 3 people, 4 out of 4. Let's see what we got. Oh, well, mashallah. A bunch of you. At least 5 are being listed. Maybe there's more. Okay, very good. So, Mubarak, and congratulations to all of you, to Parmenides, to Z, to the Divjis, Qambar, Bahlul, and whoever I can't see. It's a tie, though, for Parmenides and Z. 43 seconds. That's awesome. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow night, I might bring the same questions. I don't know. Let's see. Well, I think enough of you got 4 out of 4. I don't think we have to do it again. But inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow night for our Eid al-Ghadir program. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala Ahl Baytih Tayyibin Tahirin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you tomorrow. Inshallah.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد إلهي أذن البلاء وبرئ الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانقطع الرجاء وضاقت العرض ومنيت السماء وأنت المستعان وعليك المشتقى وعليك المعول في شدة والرخاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم، ففرج عنا بحقهم فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب. يا محمد يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران. يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 العجل العجل العجل. يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله، السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله، السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله، السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله، السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله، السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين ولي الله عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى، السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن، بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سام، وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليك وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأوداءه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الناصح. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. السلام عليكم يا أبا الفضل العباس ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم إسلاما وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوتهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المهام الناصر والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل. وألحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن يا صايع الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. أجرى الله فرجا وسخر الله تعالى مخرجا وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كل وليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافدا وقاعدا وناصرا وتليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتيه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.